issues at all, Star. It's much better than coming over there and having a
Yeah,
discussion.
that's true. It saves a lot actually that way. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So I have a presentation. I will share that also. I will give a brief, and I'll take just 10 minutes so that we know we are on the same page and it's easier for all of us to interact on the same lines. So I'll just share the screen 1 second. Mr. Anand, you might have to enable the host, meaning make me as a host. It's saying host disabled screen sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys able to see?
Got it. Ah, it's just coming now. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, so next 10 minutes, I'll just give a brief intro on this presentation and our company. Basically, I am Vikas Brahmavar. I started this company in 2008. So prior to that, I used to work in the UK as a software engineer. I used to write C++ code and all that. And suddenly, I don't know how I suddenly became patriotic and I wanted to move back to India. In 2008, I moved back to India. And then I started working on water. As a kid, my next building was a bottled water plant, so maybe from there I got interested in water and started focusing on that. So from 2008 onwards, we have been working on water treatment and water recovery. So between 2008 and 2014, we have been getting inquiries to our office for water quality improvement. So someone has a bad water quality, they want to set up a water treatment plant, all that. So we have 750 plus customers, entire cold chain, 750 people we have, and above we have done water treatment plants. And then since 2014 onwards, we have started getting inquiries on non-availability of water. People have STP treated water, which is currently going to the drain. Most of the layouts or industries, they are not able to efficiently use the STP treated water, either because of smell or color or hygiene issues. People don't use it. So we started getting inquiries from water, non-availability of water. So we decided to work on recovery of water. Then we looked at who are the water treatment companies who are recovering water. There are 212 companies in India who are focusing on STP, which is sewage treatment plant. And there are 11 or 12 technologies which are organic, inorganic, different kinds of technologies on STP. We said that is not the area, because that is already there, not the area we wanted to focus. So we started focusing on how to make efficiently use this water. So that's when we decided to set this system up. So what our focus is to recover STP treated water, convert it to drinkable, potable quality water and give it back where people can efficiently use it. So we did a study of 200 apartment associations in Electronic City, Yeshwantpur area. We noticed that only around 20% or 25% of STP treated water is actually reused. People say there is smell, one day there is smell, one day there is no smell, and people do their own bypass lines to take only fresh water for flushes. So we effectively have seen only 20-30% of STP treated water being reused. So our three segments where STP is set up currently is apartment association, IT parks and industries. All these have STP treated water, but people are not efficiently using it. Some of them use 20-30% for garden and flushing. So what we did, we tried to find out what other cities, other countries are doing. So in India, 2022 smart cities mission, this is going to come. In other cities, what they do is they design their water management not based on what is coming into the city as rain. So here we see the dam levels and then decide whether we supply based on the dam level. In Israel, they get only 74 mm, or Singapore, they get 2300 mm. Texas, California, all these places, they work on a policy called DPR, direct potable reuse, which is a method where STP treated water is converted to potable quality water and sent back. So we started finding what are the stages they put and what all components. So, and I decided to import lots of items. We did lots of testing, trial, and then we set up a project at Wakil Satellite Township where we recovered the STP, 25,000 of STP treated water was 35,000 was available. We recovered 25,000 liters of STP treated water for them. And then on, we did lots of revision in terms of predictive analysis, IoT. Gautam and me are college friends. So he joined me 3 years ago. He was working for Cisco and all these companies for 15, 16 years. And his area of interest was IoT, predictive analysis, and he has been working on those lines. So we decided to join together. And 3 years ago, he joined me, and we together started working on IoT. And because what happens in our country, as soon as we say sewage treated water, there is a huge psychological barrier. So we understand without remote monitoring, without real-time data, we'll not be able to push this product. So we put our efforts there also, IoT and remote data collection. So what we technically do is we take STP treated water, which is meeting the pollution control board norms. We take that into our system, pass it through a 11-stage treatment process, and then give potable quality water. When I say potable, government, World Health Organization, and Indian standards, IIS standards, says there are 14 parameters which needs to be meeting the drinking water standards. All these 14 parameters, we wanted it to meet the norms. So we took that, and our equipment, this slide which you see, we give a dashboard where people can see the volume, quality, all these parameters remotely in their mobile. Based on this signal, every 10 minutes we transmit the data. It gets accumulated and averaged out, and we get a time series data, and then display in the dashboard to the client. On a layman's perspective, what all parameters we handle all kinds of heavy metals, bacteria, virus, metal ions, and other contaminants, including pesticides, herbicides. So what is currently happening in our country is people, when they see clear water, they think it is good water. So we have had cases in Jagdish Nagar where STP treated water was sent to some, meaning a tanker guy gave it for 150 rupees, which people found it cheaper. For 3 or 4 months, he has been supplying STP treated water to the sump. We had our equipment in one of the client's place where one of our carbon filters got completely choked in 3 months. So we decided to inspect, and it was found that the water, and it came in newspapers, all that. So any water is not safe, we understood. And then we set our filtration stages not to treat only bacteria and fecal coliforms, all the virus related, also other metal related contaminants, cadmium, lead, heavy metals, all that. So we pass it through 11 stage of series filtration and produce potable quality water. It handles all the protozoa, zinc, excess iron, dust, lead, virus, all these parameters are handled. So what are the stages? What are the stages in the treatment process? These are the stages so in the US, as per DPR norms, they give stages on what contaminants needs to be treated. So we have not taken chances of any contaminants to seep through. And in the US, they have 7 stages, generally 7, 8 stages for DPR. We have included other stages which is followed in other countries also into our thing, and we have made it a series system. These are the stages. NM filtration is next media filtration. It's a natural ore which is imported again. It handles TSS and turbidity, suspended solids and turbidity. AFM is made of aluminum silicate. It is a material which can reduce TOCs. We call it total organic contaminants. And then we have iron reduction system, 20 micron, 10 micron, 5 micron. Then we looked at the industry. People were predominantly using RO systems. Only in Florida, they were using a special kind of membrane which is coated, which is called XFRO. So we decided to import those membranes. So those membranes require different kinds of pressure, different kinds of monitoring required. You cannot have more chlorine, you cannot have more iron. So we have adjusted all that in the pre-filtration and produce high quality water. When it comes to RO, people think that there is lots of wastewater. In an industrial properly designed RO, you can recover even up to 90%. However, in a practical scale, 65 to 70% is practically viable when we consider economics together with maintenance cost, all that. So we've designed that, and then post LF, we have UV and oxidation and post micron treatment system. So now most of them ask where have they used. In Namibia, they have been using this direct potable reuse, which means that the water recovered is directly sent back for drinking water for the entire community, and it has been done for the past 50 years. So California, last 2 years ago, there was drought. So both the DPR and IPR. IPR is indirect potable reuse, where people store this water in a reservoir or a tank and then send it after 1 month, after 15 days. for natural exposure and then send. Most of them use DPR on emergency. When I say Africa, so people say, is it only in Africa? We are not comparable with Africa. So I show all these US cities, California, Texas, all these cities also do that. And 1 year, full year in Texas, El Paso, they have done DPR. Israel, we all know 1960s onwards, they have been doing a few, mostly IPR they started. Now there are few DPR, direct potable reuse. In Singapore, we all know, they say as per statistics, 99% of people who go to Singapore, if they have stayed for 3 days and above, there is a 99% chance that they have had recycled water. In Singapore, government took initiative where they called people to the stadium and they made people drink this water. Here, coming to us now, since 2014, we have done lots of work on this recovery sector, and we got shortlisted by World Resource Institute. It's called WRI. They shortlisted 10 companies in India who can change the way water is managed for cities. So they asked us to present our case to Vice President Cell. So we went to Niti Aayog in Delhi. We presented to Vice President Cell. They've taken a company's name and they have decided to put this in the Smart Cities Mission as DPR and IPR norms in the Smart Cities Mission, which is going to come in 2022. In Bangalore, we have had a lot of struggle with apartment associations before. So we have contacted Bangalore Apartment Federation, and this is 1.5 years ago. There's huge psychological barrier for people to adopt. So our niche area segment moved towards malls and IT parks. We have done largest mall, Orion Mall in Rajajinagar. We have done recovery. We are saving 150,000 liters of water every day for them. And we have done Wakil layout. We have done Eco World. We have got agreement for 11 of their blocks, Eco World in Outer Ring Road. We've done one block. Next block, we're waiting for the next set of papers to come from them. Then we'll be doing other 11 blocks. Apart from that, we have 14 builders who are interested in their starting phase. 14 builders we're interested in signing up. None are running currently, but it will be a separate effort which is going to be taken for DPR. It's going to get over 5 years when they complete the project. If the Smart Cities Mission comes, it becomes a norm for them. So they are starting to adopt. Our system looks like a container which needs to be placed near the STP. So our equipment placed near STP or a little far away also, we have to get the plumbing line inlet to our system. And our system transmits data once in 10 minutes or once in 15 minutes based on how we set, and remote data is collected in our cloud. All our equipments are managed to operate by us because we understand these are professionally built systems where we cannot give the equipment thing. It needs to be managed professionally. Care has to be taken on when equipment needs to be backwashed, all that. So we take care of equipment's maintenance, all that. We request generally the power and space from the client. This is the internal structure. So this is the water report which we have got from Sunnyside ELM. So all the parameters are meeting. However, we understand that STP, generally there is huge variation. Generally on Sundays when people do lots of cleaning, there is Harpic and other chemicals getting into the slide. So there is some generally smell on Monday. Your BOD, COD, all these values will not meet on Monday if you collect samples. We have taken a buffer of these values and designed a system for you, and we have already sent the code. This is a sample expected treated water report. So over the years, we have not even had one report which has failed the drinking water standards in all of our sites. Predominantly, there is no coliforms, there is no fecal coliforms, there is no other contaminants which says it is non-drinkable. Directly from the system's outlet, it's technically drinkable. What we have generally noticed is the contamination happens in the storage tank, where people keep the tank lids open and things like that. But at the system level, it's always potable. So we have always had our reports meeting standards. Now, for an apartment over time, next 3 years, 4 years over time, the only sustainable method, people have adopted rainwater harvesting. People have done all the other options which are viable currently. The only options which is currently left is to adopt technologies and recover as much water and reuse. So we know the costs of various Kaveri water. We get around 130 crore liter of Kaveri water every day to our city, which is costing the government 85 paisa per liter, but they are subsidizing and giving it between 8 and 21 paisa based on the slab. Tanker water currently during rainy season and winter is between 8 and 9 paisa per liter, and during summer it can, some areas it goes even up to 48 paisa, average around 18 paisa per liter. Borewells in 2008, average borewell depth was around 350, 400 feet. Last year, 2019, government did a study. Average borewell is depth gone to 850. So we are taking water which has been there for thousands of years and exploiting it at a very high rate. So I believe that the sustainable way for someone to plan is to plan now and become sustainable. So for any apartment associations, this equipment is a need. If not now, it will become in the next 1-2 years. Thank you for patiently listening to me. Thank you all. I'll stop sharing the slide.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you will have some kind of remote monitoring in place.
Yes.
Will that be at just the final output or at each stage of your, how do you know if some stage is malfunctioning?
Yeah, so what we do is for different stage it handles different contaminants. For example, in the initial stage, if there is contaminant, turbidity becomes higher, the system shuts down. So the data which we collect is for pressure and other things in the initial stage. We take one parameter which is specific for that and then shut down the system if it is contaminant, if it is above the certain limit. Now, in terms of transmitting data, we have data from all stages, different parameters from different stages, whichever the stage is applicable, different parameters we take from different stages and then we transmit it. For the customer which we show parameters which are necessary for them to understand the quality of water.
Okay. So you mentioned that if the, let's say if the STP itself malfunctions and the output of STP is bad, then your system will not take it in.
Yeah. So if the turbidity is one parameter which is significant for STP. If it goes above a certain limit, we shut down the system. So system will stop. So there are cases like at RMC, we set that system up. They asked us to remove it because predominantly most of the time it was failing. So they added their own 2 stages separately. They changed the media and improved the quality and gave it to us. We take 30% buffer, but in the system there is a provision to shut it down at any point.
Okay. And the RO filter, it is a physical filter, right? It's impossible for impurities to get through it, or
yeah,
is there a bypass also?
Correct. So it's a physical filtration which has a pore size down to 0.0001 micron. So what can possibly happen is it will choke the filter and water will not come out. But the molecular weight of the water, it doesn't let other contaminants come out. It will either choke, water will not come out, or at any stage of day, it will be pure water coming out, or the system will choke and stop.
Okay. Yeah, which brings me to the next question. How often do we have to change these filters?
Yeah, so RO membrane is the core of the system. So the life of the RO membrane predominantly depends on the incoming treatment plant, meaning pre-treatment which is done. So we have, before it gets to RO, we have around 5 stages of pre-treatment which is already done. And so general life of RO membrane is between 1.5 and 2 years for industrial scale. In Vakil, where we have done, it has gone past 4.5 years, we have not changed the membrane. But in for you, what we have mentioned is we have put 2 years on I think 1.5 years. I think we have 1.5 or 2 years we have put on a conservative scale. But generally 3 years for domestic application. It lasts 3.5 years. We have also Vakil. It's now almost 4.5, 5 years. We have not changed. RMC 1.5 years. We have not changed that, and it's still looking good. So you can safely take 3 years as an average. Membrane needs to be changed after 3 years. So we don't normally change all the membranes. So based on the number of membranes which we put, these are in stages which we put. So probably first set of membranes needs acid washing in the first 1 year, and then second stage needs acid washing, and then in the second year end or third year we might need to change 1 or 2 membranes. It depends on what type of contamination. To bring it to your notice, the contaminants which are actually causing problems are not the contaminants which is because of sewage. It's other mineral contamination. For example, your supply has high iron, all these mineral contamination which are above the limits. And it is standard similar to your domestic RO, house RO membrane, similar to that, but it's a pretty large membrane. So you can consider 3 years, 2.5, 3 years based on the water quality and maintenance.
Okay. And every stage you also have a back flush, right? To make sure it's all, it's
Yes.
every day there is a back flush to keep the filters open.
Correct. So for the pre-filtration section where we have NM and glass media, we have every 20 minutes minimum minor backwash, 20 minutes or 30 minutes we set. There's a small backwash which is happening. And then RO, there is RO flushing happening. All the stages has auto cleaning mechanism. There is one stage which is cartridge based, which needs to be regularly changed once in 15 days or 20 days. When it chokes, the pressure increases and we have to change the cartridge. That is a consumable which needs to be changed. Apart from that, there is anti-scalant material which is prevents salts from choking the membrane. So that also is a consumable. So cartridge and anti-scalant are the two consumables. To answer your questions, yes, we do backwash in the previous stages, but consumables are also there.
Okay. And that those are part of your regular maintenance, right? You mentioned
Yes,
that you will maintain the system also. So it's,
yes.
okay. Do you guys have any questions, Sujit, Ashish?
I have some questions.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead? Go ahead first.
I'm not able to hear you. Sujit.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. So I had two questions, because one, you said this is the same technology used for regular water supply in California, right?
So technology-wise, on a very broad level, if we take, it is almost the same, but the components are different. Say, for example, in the normal bottled water plant, people use conventional RO membranes. We don't use that. They use sand and carbon in the pre-filtration. We don't use that. We use a portion of carbon, but predominantly other materials. They use a different kinds of cartridge. We use a different. So basically, the components are all different as per the DPR it is designed.
Okay. So, okay, you said in the bottled water treatment plant. So I was asking if this is the one that is used in the regular taps of water that comes in the taps in California.
That
Sorry,
is very,
wrong,
very
just
conventional. The house water purifiers, you're saying, right?
no. The regular, let's say if I'm in California somewhere, in San Francisco somewhere, water that comes from the regular tap, is it using purified using this technology or is it different?
So if you take California, not all places has purified water. There are few places which has purified water, and few lines they have RO, few lines they don't have RO, only UV.
Okay, so
this is full include. This is all purified water. We don't want to take chances based on varying water quality. This has purified, always purified water.
great.
I have understood your question, right?
Yeah, I think I got it. So what I assumed was entire California state, I thought the government is using the system to purify and send water to all the taps, but looks like that's not the case.
Yeah, so based on the county level, I think they have different companies managing different parameters. So based on the water quality, they decide which line, which water to send to which.
It's a variation on or here and there, but overall, it's a similar.
Overall, it's same DPR norms.
Okay. And second is you mentioned that there are two things that can happen to the system. One, it could shut down because the input water is not meeting the expectations. Second is whenever that's, let's say one of the membranes needs to be replaced, you get notified, so you need to do this thing. So if it gets shut down, obviously we need to fix the input, so that's going to take some time. It's on us, so we need to figure out how fast we can fix it. Till then, we have to figure out alternate water supply. Second is which is probably in your control, where let's say a membrane needs to be replaced. Is the supply of parts and everything taken care of you guys, or is there a problem with? Is there a possibility of any delays in the parts being available? Parts being the membranes, the filters.
Right. So with this system, what happens? It doesn't spoil next day. Meaning, we know say initially it is giving 20,000 liters per day. Over time, we have real-time flow rate. Over time, over 6 months, 8 months, the membrane starts choking. It won't fail the next day. Okay. So we always have very, very long time available for us to decide whether to change the membrane. For example, if currently it is giving 20,000 liters, it's gone down to 18, gone down to 16, it's gone down to 7, 6. Then we decide, okay, let's change the membrane. So it is not next day. So the components are always available. All the if you see all pan India, domestic or industrial, all the RO membranes which are available are imported. Basically, people roll it. People buy sheets and roll. So all these materials are very well established materials. So it is all available. To answer your question, availability is not an issue. And in terms of choking replacement, the time duration is not a problem. But there are pumps which can fail. Generally, suddenly pumps fail. Say for that, all these pumps are centrifugal pumps, which is available in the market. In a day's notice, we can get it.
Okay, thanks, Vikas. That's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
How many pumps are there in your system? There will be one at the input, I'm guessing.
So from your based on the distance between your STP treated water, there will be one feed pump which is pumping to the pre-treatment. From the pre-treatment, there will be one high pressure pump. Sorry, there is some message coming that
Yeah, it's
the
okay.
time is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is one pump which is high pressure pump which is for the membrane, and post that, if you have to pump it to a tank, our system will give a pressure of around 1.4 kg, which is around 10 feet. Our system can pump at a vertical head. So after that, you might have to store it and pump it to required location. So in our systems, if you take, there are two pumps.
Okay. Arun is asking, is boson and transworld the same? Boson White?
Yeah, Transwater System Private Limited is the company's name. Boson Whitewater is the brand name.
For this treatment system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, if
So
this
I
call
have
ends, I will
series of
send another
questions.
link, so don't worry.
Sure.
Zoom call ends. Yeah, Arun, you're saying?
Okay. Right. All right.
Mr. Anand, you don't have my phone number. You will send it by email?
I have the phone number. I will send.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we
Because
can hear you.
you can.
We can hear you, Arun.
Yeah, Mr. Arun.
Oh, okay, fine. All right. So I think I'll probably start
Yeah.
with. I will probably start with some fundamental questions, and then we'll go to some other ones.
Yes,
Because
Mr.
I'm kind of quite conscious that this is a recorded one, and it might benefit others as well, who might have some very basic questions, right?
Definitely.
So now coming to the filtration process, right? So you said that it pretty much filters everything, including the viruses or even the metals and all of it. So how is that intelligence built in? Because water is a molecule, so is any metal is a molecule. How is the system differentiating between that metal and this H2O? And
Right.
also the viruses are supposed to be very, very, in fact, the dimension wise, they're very small, right? Compared to bacteria or something like that. So you want to say something about it?
Yeah. So even in your domestic purifier or any water purifier, if there is a membrane, it has a pore size of 0.001 micron. So predominantly only water molecule passes through these pore sizes. If you say metals, it is around 10 power minus 6 micron, minus 8 micron, minus 7, minus 8. So nitrate is minus 5 or minus 6 micron nitrate, fluoride, cadmium, lead, all these are higher in molecular sizes. The smaller chemicals which are molecular size are calcium, magnesium, molecules of calcium and magnesium. Virus bacteria is much bigger, 10 power minus 4, minus 5, within that viruses go. 10 power minus 3, minus 2 micron bacteria go. So even with the basic protozoas, all that will go in 5 or 10, 5 micron cartridges itself, half of the protozoas go. And all these are physically filtered using the membrane process. Now, bacteria and virus is lesser challenge compared to heavy metals, all that. The reason, because in the pre-treatment, we have total organ. So there is a process called adsorption, which happens where when we chlorinate the water or these contaminants gets adsorbed onto the surface of the pre-filtered. So the bacteria virus are easier to remove compared to the heavy metals and other issues in the water. So now coming to heavy metals, all these heavy metals are standard. So we have physical filtrations to, it is like a filter paper which does not pass heavy metals. These are even smaller in size. The pore size is even smaller for the membrane compared to the heavy metals and all the contaminants. So we don't selectively remove any parameter. We as a whole remove predominantly good minerals, bad minerals, all contaminants together, which are bigger in size than the water molecule.
Okay, so that kind of leads to the second question. Like, now people are conscious that, now whatever the RO we are treating itself is, completely, becoming, it's just a water, but it doesn't have any good thing in that, right? So now that's why RO companies are coming with this, a lot of gymnastics saying that
Alkaline.
copper is added, that is added. So basically, for you, I think most of it anyway, we are happy to get used for, the toilets, the bathrooms, and all of it. That's fine. But for the drinking purpose, I think still it is completely drained out water, or should I say, a water which is just a water which has nothing in it. Do you have any any specific thing to add to which kind of
Yeah, Mr. And this is
debunks
the
this myth or whatever?
yeah, this is the most common question nowadays. Last week we had, I think Republic TV also, we had an interview on this. They're planning to ban RO and all that. I'm in one of the panels from World Water Quality Association for this. So basically it goes this way. Yes, you lose lots of minerals from any RO water, but there is no other technology available to remove nitrate. For example, in the Kaveri water or even municipal water which is being supplied, there are cases that there is lead, sometimes aluminum, because all the pipes which they have done is old. So there is no other way to remove all the other main contaminants. That's what one of my friends said. So it is like if you put helmet, you lose hair. Obviously, you lose hair, but you want to save your head. So that is the example people give in all these forums. So what happens? You lose mineral, but they say calcium and magnesium which you lose from water for a whole week is equivalent to 50% of calcium which is available in a glass of water, a glass of milk. So if you have one glass of milk the whole week, all your minerals from the water which you get for your body is taken care. So there are two options. One, to have some contaminants like nitrate, which we don't know, which will prevent the oxygen carrying capacity of the cells, or to let all these contaminants in or lose some minerals. So it is a trade-off between what we lose and what we actually want. Now,
I think, yeah, I think Arun, the output of this system, we will be putting it in let's say our final tank, where we also will get Kaveri water and tanker water. So it will get mixed, I think. So in the end, it will have minerals.
But okay, so I think this is a kind of a tricky question. I can understand, it's not a straightforward answer, and I think it's a call, like it's a trade-off, right? Like Vikas put it. So, but then I think I would have been happy to get rid of my RO actually, which is at home, and a lot of people will get rid of it, will be quite happy, because I spend quite a money as well, and we lose a lot of water as well, right? Because first thing is the RO at home. Though they claim that it is very efficient, I see a lot of water going. I never calculated it myself, but then it really does waste a lot of water.
Yeah,
okay?
more than 60%.
On top of it, I'm spending 6,000, 7,000 for maintenance with the AMC, and also there's a lot of inconvenience. No, but the thing is, if Vikas is going to give me a potable water, I'm quite happy to get rid of my RO in the first place. So that also saves a lot of money and water, right? I don't know what you think about it, but of course we don't want to replumb the whole thing and put a new one. That's a different story, but. The true benefit would have been like that for me as an individual.
Yeah.
So if you are not buying other waters, if it is directly from our system, then you don't need an RO. It will be good water. The reason you might have to put RO is you have other waters also coming in. We don't know what contaminations are there in the other water. So that could be the only reason for RO.
I can go get my glass of water, a beaker of water from your plant directly there. Is that's
yes. You can drink it from the system. Provided there is no psychological barrier, because in my videos which I've sent for news, I've drank it from the system because I'm very confident about the water coming out. It's definitely better than the tanker water or any Kaveri water directly taken.
So that kind of leads me to my question, right? So like you said, the psychological barrier is the biggest problem, I would say, than technology or anything else in this space, right? And I do remember I was in Singapore, and back in I think 2004 or 2005. And then at that time, the Prime Minister actually came out onto the TV to kind of show that he's drinking that water. Okay. Exactly. So still people still doubted that no. He's showing that water, but he's not drinking that water. Okay. So I think so that's the strong mental block people have. Now my question to you is, the thing is, we are happy to get convinced and all that, but the thing is, how do we convince the residents? You have done this exercise before in the other buildings, and what is the way to convince them, and how do you go about that?
So this question, I don't have a direct straight answer, but see, over time, so for example, TZ is drinking that water since 2014, right? Over time, when people are substantiated enough with enough water reports and the data which is coming on daily basis, so if you have water reports of Kaveri water, borewell water, and this water together, you'll always find this water is better. So there are two kinds of people which we have seen generally. One, logical people who understand that a report can decide the water they drink, and other people, few are there who are not from logical, they are from a different perspective where they definitely don't want to adopt. So association is a mix of both kind of people. So for logical reasoning, we can definitely address with water reports.
Mhm.
I don't have a straight answer, Mr. Arun. I understand
that's
from
okay.
where you're coming. I don't have an answer.
I think the onus is on us as well to kind of do it. But I was just trying to wonder what are the techniques you use, at least to convince people, right? But okay, I think a sustained effort. Yeah, I think the real data, the actual data backed up, and a sustained effort probably will kind of make that help.
Because
Okay, we'll find that out.
maybe to help us in this, because can you provide us those reports from your other projects, that basically the same three, like we can compare side by side and we can show to people that look at this apartment, here is the report of the system, of the Kaveri and of the tanker.
Sure.
Is it possible to provide?
I will share all the reports from our system. I have few reports from Vakil where they have shared the borewell water report also. I will try to get the report from other places borewell also. We will share that report with you.
Okay. Now then, coming to the point, like, for the recovery side, you said that, the RO, which is a very small machine, which is fitted in every house, still seems to waste a lot of water, right? But then you are saying that, your system can really, is efficient enough up to almost 90%. Let's say, even if not 90%, like 60, 70% is good enough. So 2 questions are coming out of it. What gives you that confidence that it's really 60-70%, what probably the technology or whatever you're using? Maybe I want to know a little bit more how efficient it is compared to the regular ROs what we see. That's number one. Second thing is, what happens to ultimately the 30% of 20% of water you throw out? That water can be again back put into usage, or it has to be disposed of? And if it has to be disposed of, then what is the mechanism to dispose of legally? I mean, not getting into any problems or anything like that.
Right. So to answer your first question, how are we able to recover more water? In a house water purifier which you have, the surface area of the membrane is very small. So they have, for every liter of water which you take, it is around 3.5 to 4 liters goes as waste for a house level. For any industrial system, it is not designed that way. We have multiple membranes placed in different locations. The first stage wastewater goes to the second stage, and you mix the incoming water to the second stage as well. Second stage wastewater goes to the third stage. So basically, this efficiency is possible when we put multiple membranes, multiple stages, higher efficiency membrane, differently coated membrane. For example, in the house RO, it is a cellulose acetate membrane mostly, CA membrane mostly. Some are polyamide. So this is all polyamide membrane where the recovery is higher. And then you put number of membranes, higher number of membranes in stages where you are able to recover more water. On a practical scale, as I said, 65 to 70%. To answer your second question, how do we know that we have all the meters there which are running live data on the wastewater volume. Water meters are there in terms of wastewater. So we have data of recovering 65 to 70% on a real time from the sites. Third thing which you asked is disposal. So the wastewater which comes out technically can be sent back to the STP bar screen. So basically what happens, this can come back to the incoming bar screen. In your STP, if there are other organic contaminants which are actually rejected from our system, in your STP there is sludge collection. It will add on 50 grams of 100 grams of sludge back to your STP waste collection. You will have a sludge collection method in your STP. So it contributes to that. Effectively, to answer your question, you don't have to dispose it off outside. You can send it back to your STP. Now, in some cases, what happens, people don't want to send it back to STP because of higher salt contents. So probably once in 15 days, once in 20 days, it can be used for coconut trees and other plantation instead of saying, this water is much better than your STP treated water. The wastewater will have higher salts, that's all. It won't have any other issue. So it can be technically used for coconut trees, not for lawn, depending on the TDS of the water which we get, not for lawn, but all other cleaning purpose, all the other places you can once in 15 days, instead of sending to STP, we can send it to plantation.
Right. Okay. Okay, so the next question I have is basically, I think there's something which Sujit already asked, but I want to know that, is this all imported stuff you're getting, or is it like, it's available in India? Where are these materials coming from?
Yeah, so the core LF, low LFRO core, which that is imported. So no one in India does it. Even for your house, Kentaro or Aquaguard, no one in India does it. All are imported. But there are around 18, 19 importers who do import of these and keep stock of all these. LFRO specific, there is one importer in Pune. We imported previously. Now the volume they're asking is pretty high. So there is one supplier, US supplier. He himself has an importer, designated importer in Pune. So we are importing, buying it from Pune core, and then pre-treatment. See, all the raw materials. For example, Next Media is a natural ore which is available as a ore in Kerala, but no one is taking it out and manufacturing. So all these components predominantly imported. All the fabrication, design, panel, electrical, all the pressure related items, all those are locally made. Few in Chennai, one in Calcutta. So all these components are locally made. All the steel fabrication, we have our own fabrication unit in Salem. So we all the steel related fabrication we have fabricated ourselves.
So my question basically was like indirectly, does the cost escalate because, there's a dependency out there? Or like, do you see any concerns there, in terms of cost or availability or something like that? I think availability is Sujit's question. Answered it.
We have seen very little variation in terms of cost because these have become very large commodity. The price is internationally fixed. There is no large variation in pricing because it is a common commodity. For example, if Kent changes the membrane, meaning they buy it from a different supplier, there will be 50 rupees variation in their membrane cost. So it is generally not large. It is like a commodity which is in the water industry. It is pretty much available everywhere. So there is no huge cost escalation. But there are always risks where suddenly from 75 the dollar goes to 120, then we have that risk.
Right. Okay, that kind of takes me to the other very important question. Like, there is a word going around saying that, look, currently the cost of water from the tankers is far below maintaining such system, the tertiary treatment plant, right? And then, that is only becomes viable when really on the water tanker cost goes really high, right? So do you kind of agree to it, or like, what is your real cost? And for me, end of the day, two things matter like a common man, right? One is, of course, the quality is the primary one. Secondary, from a society perspective also, is that the cost per liter has to be at least comparative, right? Even if it is slightly more, it's okay, but then it has to be very comparative. It should not blow beyond that. Now, the fear from a society's perspective always is that, when you deal with companies, they always tell you something good, but then when you really get into it, put money there, get in there, then the music starts. So we don't want to get into that situation. I think, I feel that from whatever interaction I have with you, I mean, you guys are quite sincere, but I want very honest answers on these, as to what is your opinion on this?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, the tanker water cost currently is running between 9 and 11 during rainy season and winter season. 9 and 11 paisa per liter. Anywhere in Bangalore, it is the average 9 and 11 paisa per liter. In the summer, it goes between 14 and 40. It depends on the location which you get. So now, if people say that tanker water pricing will decide, it is already decided. There is a company called Price Waterhouse Cooper. They have done a research on water pricing in different cities. In Bangalore, it is averaged out at 9 paisa per liter. So if they take both government and the tanker water, which is guys who are supplying, the average is at 9 paisa. So for our system, when we sell, for larger system, when we sell on OPEX, we price between 8 and 9 paisa. Initially we started at 7. Between 8 and 9 paisa is the current running price for the water which we sell on OPEX. Now, will it drastically increase? It won't anytime increase up to the tanker water cost average. So because whatever component changes, it will be 1 paisa, 2 paisa variation. The way when it comes to per liter basis, there is no huge variation. If are we able to maintain this cost, it is anyway lesser than tanker, so it is viable for people to adopt because it's lesser than the tanker water pricing. Now, over time, if the tanker guys increase, our demand will increase. For example, if we take Orion Mall, They were buying at 14 and a half paisa per liter. So now they're paying 8 paisa per liter for our water. So effectively, our business model also sustains. For them also, it's a huge saving. And then there is no significant, all components, all prices are known in the market. So I cannot tomorrow say that I'm the only person doing it, give me 20 paisa. I cannot say that, because all the products are commodity. People know in the industry, people know what is the cost which is viable for business to sustain, viable for people to adopt this, and it's win-win-win from all sides. Otherwise, it won't sustain.
Oh, okay, so I think so. The question is, let's say we, I think commercial. I'm not sure. I think maybe you might have discussed now with Anand or whatever the costing factor. But is it like one-time investment, whatever is there, that's done by society, and then you maintain it, and we don't worry about the cost, material, and all of it. But what we worry about is the money we pay for every liter of it, and that money is, you're saying, is what, that lesser than the tanker cost. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So there are two models, Mr. Arun. So generally, for viability sake, what we have done is above 50,000 liters per day. If we are giving output to an apartment or to a Orion Mall, if it is above 50,000 liters per day, we take care of investment, we take care of maintenance. The customer gives space, power, and a caution deposit. There is a caution deposit which we take to set up the equipment. Apart from that, it is all maintenance. It's on us in an OPEX model, meaning
Okay.
you worry about, as you said, just paying per liter, like you pay tanker, you pay us. So that is,
and then power on top
and then
of it.
power will be around 1 paisa per liter.
1 paisa per liter.
1 paisa per liter.
Even in the commercial setup.
Yeah, it is in the commercial setup where it is 50,000 liters above. For your scale, what happens is this OPEX model over time becomes a barrier for you, meaning it costs more. So we have to sign an agreement for 5 years. You'll have to continuously pay that kind of cost, and the caution deposit is also 4.5 lakhs. So for smaller volumes, what we have done is we have put the system on capital, meaning you invest on the equipment, you put power, it is your equipment, the ownership is always yours. You sign up an AMC with us, and we have given the costing of monthly pricing also. If we sign up an AMC with us, comprehensive AMC, anything goes, any issues with the system, we take care of the equipment. You pay a standard AMC cost. It is like maintaining any other equipment. The equipment belongs to you. We take care of it on maintenance. That can be 1 year maintenance, 2 year maintenance. You have more control on pricing. Long term, we feel for smaller volume, this is good, because signing a 3 year, 5 year contract will not immediately apply for smaller volumes.
Okay, fine. I think we don't, in this session, we probably don't have to go into more financial. I think you might have already shared it. So probably we kind of internally discuss that. Okay, I think I'll stop here. I don't want to kind of grab the whole thing, whole session, but I'll leave it. Ashish, you have any questions from your side? Okay, Ashish is good, he says. Okay.
Is there any extra pre-filters that we can install out before your system, before we give input to your system, in order to improve either the longevity of filters or efficiency, or to avoid problems?
So your report currently says it's all meeting the norms. This is actually a good report which we generally see, because BOD and COD are predominant. 31 is your COD, so which is okay currently. You might not need any additional filters. If it deteriorates, if you're finding smell on and off, if it deteriorates, in your sand and carbon filter, there are different medias which are available, which can be replaced. So next time when you replace sand and carbon, there are different medias which are available. So based on your incoming water report, if it has iron, we can alter that media to suit the system. But it will not be done immediately. It can be if your STP needs change for sand and carbon, then we can validate that and change the media. So you don't have to put additional filters. The existing sand and carbon media can have a change in media.
Okay.
And I think your folks have actually visited our site, right? I mean, so the feasibility has been done, like where it can be done, what space you need, and.
Yeah, Gautam has visited, and I think he has identified one space where it is little away from the STP, where plumbing line has to be given. But it was before COVID, and it was not clear on established location. So it is our system can be placed as long as plumbing line comes and there is little pressure issues coming to the system, then I think it is fine to place anywhere.
How much box, I mean, how much space do you need, that box you mentioned?
So height is 12 feet and width is 9 and 8.5. 9, 9, 12 we can keep.
Okay.
Okay, and then maybe I think whenever in these few days, if you want to kind of reconfirm, send somebody, I think that's okay. That's okay, absolutely okay with us if you want to send and reconfirm the space thing and all that. I'll leave
Yeah,
it up to you
definitely.
to do it at your convenience. I'm not saying it has to be done like tomorrow. So
Yeah,
that we are
definitely.
100% sure that even from a space and feasibility wise it's there. Otherwise there is no point in because ours is a small project. That's the other problem, right? So
Yeah, feasibility study was done because we don't send code without if there is no space in most of apartments nowadays. It's only basement which is available. No car
right.
park, nothing is available. So we see that and then based on feasibility we give the
Okay,
code
good.
on.
Okay.
Will
Right. Okay. Then
be
I think we're comfortable with that. All right. Okay. Then the other thing is there any, regulation or any body which is when you set up something like this, anybody who will come in to say, okay, we want to know because it's now getting this, what is going to the household and all, you have to, the restrictions and regulations or anything like that in this space?
currently no, there is no regulation because the governments we approached both KSPCB and BWSSB. Both are saying KSPCB is saying as long as STP treated water meets the norms, if they are disposing meet the norms, then we are good. BWSSB says anyway we are not able to supply to everyone. As long as they buy good water, we are okay.
So well, the other question which I had was, what did I have? I forgot. I made some list of things, but anyway, I think okay, I think okay. The other one is is it that once we have the system, we always have to have you as a partner? I mean, nobody else can step into this project or run it, or there are not many players at all like that, or are we married forever? Was it what is it?
So nice question, sir, Mr. Arun. So what we have done is we are the sort of we have the advantage of getting to a smaller segment. There are companies like Thermax, Ion Exchange who have done for larger segment, very large segment. All these companies will eventually come into the market, but for now, in terms of component availability, lots of people are available. But for now, I think at least till the agreement which is signed, we are the people who are managing it this way. See, anyone can design an RO system, but this level of efficiency we have over time we have managed to get it. So to answer your question, at least for 3 years, I think we should
Okay.
agree to stay together.
Okay, fine. I'm just um, I hope. Obviously, the cost won't escalate like so unreasonably that it becomes difficult to keep the relationship going or something like that. But
Correct,
because
correct. So
if it is,
we sign
that's
off
the only
that
risk we see, right? From a yeah.
correct. In the start itself, we sign up. So for you, we have given the capex cost. So it is one time. So there is no. We sign off for the next 3 years on this is going to be the cost. We can sign off that way.
Okay, all right. That's all from my side. Thank you so much, Vikas.
Sure, Mr. Arun, sure.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions also.
Sure. Can I ask one question? So, is the
Yeah, sure.
AGM and things are over with this, or this is going to be presented to the committee? And
Yeah, it is going to be presented to the committee. Last time with Gautam, only me and Arun had spoken, and then after COVID happened, so we couldn't present it to the MC. And now we have a new MC, so that's why we have to present it again. Yeah.
sure.
I think we have a strong desire. That much I can tell you, Vikas.
Yeah.
The desire is quite strong. Okay, but I think we still need to work out at a ground level to kind of get the idea pushed through. But I think we keen to do that. I'm sure the new committee is also keen to do that because with the way I think this kind of gives a very good permanent water security, right? I think
Correct.
that's very important. Right, but I think the other thing which I would recommend is to have a kind of from a society, from a community perspective, is to really look at the commercial aspects as well, right? And just to kind of completely rule out that, this is really not going to be like what people say, a white elephant, which you can't kind of really maintain, right? That should not happen. So that kind of due diligence is something which is still due within us, within the committee. That has to happen.
Definitely. So I understand. So any equipment, large industrial equipment, people have this fear that it becomes a white elephant and you cannot sustain it. For that reason, so what we believe is with this equipment, as long as we maintain, it won't become white elephant. Generally, it becomes white elephant when everything is spoiled and suddenly we know we have to replace everything and becomes really costly. So if all the procedures it is left to professionals to maintain, then the sustaining, then it will sustain. So that is my point. And in terms of increasing cost over time, we can even sign off for a longer time. This is going to be the maintenance cost per month for the next 5 years or next 4 years. You can sign that off so that you don't have, and we can put the escalation also after 2 years or after 3 years, the escalation will be only 10% or 15%. We can put that also, because we know the industrial component wise pricing won't increase that. It could probably become cheaper is what we think, because if there are many manufacturers coming in, it could be probably become cheaper. But yeah, so we can sign that off, Mr. Arun.
That's good. I think the ceiling clauses, if we have, that will be helpful. I think that will give a lot of confidence for the society, right? That the cost
Correct.
won't escalate very fast. Yeah. Okay. This kind of, sorry, again, I got one more question in my mind, though I was trying to wind up. Do you guys also manage the STP, so that the whole system, right from STP to the
PTP.
tertiary plant and the WTP, you kind of take over completely and then manage it efficiently, front to back?
Yeah. So technically, we are not that skilled to maintain STP because it requires lots of government interactions. So we are very poor with government interaction in terms of STP. So that is the one reason we don't take up STP maintenance. Second thing is, if it is done by a proper builder, like Prestige is a proper builder, there is no dimension issues generally. Otherwise, generally STPs are under designed, so we don't want to keep our hand on that and then spoil our reputation also in not maintaining the STP. So to answer your question, we don't take up STP. We strictly focus on what we are good at. And then WTP, if it is done, WTP, we have our people who have been doing for a long time. We can take up WTP maintenance, but yeah, so STP, we generally don't take it up, because there are lots of technologies, lots of variations in the STP which is designed. It could be conventional, it could be little on oxidation based. Too many technologies are there. So
Okay.
it's better
All right.
to give the STP to the current vendor. We won't bypass them. So, and they are also happy to maintain that. And you have an external check saying that STP treated water is also meeting norms. We interact with the STP vendor directly. Most of the time saying that, say today turbidity is higher, can you do more aeration and things like that. So we can help, but it is better they do it the way they are currently doing it.
Okay. All right.
In this monthly maintenance contract that you have mentioned, I think it's 13,700 per month, something includes consumables and labor. So that labor is, I mean, how is it? Is it visit every day or week or?
Yeah, Mr. Anand. So what happens based on the data which we get? So we know what is the pressure variation. We know what is the frequency. Say we know next 3 days we send. So based on the need we send, there is no one person permanently stationed like an STP. Based on the need we send, it could be sometimes initially it could be daily. Over time it could be weekly once. When it is all stabilized set, it could be weekly once or 4 days once. They come change. Whenever there is a change, we maximum try to because economics work out, the lower we send, that is the economics for us. So mostly managed remotely. We have to send people once in a week at least, generally.
Okay.
You said there is a real-time monitoring, right? But then you
Correct.
also said that there is a 10 minutes time where you collect the data to kind of send out. So my question is, because nobody is there, and then suddenly for whatever reason the water quality suddenly turns bad, right? But then is there a lag time before which the water really gets into the tanks and all that, or the machine shuts off the moment it's it captures in that minute second, it kind of cuts off the system? How does it happen?
Yeah. So in all the 11 stages, it shuts off. So at any point of time, you'll not have a stage where there is bad water coming out, it will shut off. So if you remote data transmitting to the cloud is 10 minutes, it's real time only. It takes every second, however, it takes real time only. We don't depend on the data to shut down. Someone from our office has to shut down, nothing like that. It stops when the turbidity goes, say 3 NTU, it stops in the first stage itself. We know in the first stage, even before it goes through the 11 stages.
What happens if that sensor itself fails? The sensor which is actually kind of monitoring it, right? That's a sensitive instrument, right? Even you have any backup to it, or like, you know, what happens?
So
if
we
that
have
itself
11
fails?
backups. If the first sensor fails, we have the second one in the second stage or third stage, third one in the, so we have had this question before. So we have made sure that at any point of time, 1, 2, 3 sensor fails also still because when we say drinking, we have to ensure that all these, we understand sensors. Sometimes it can fail, it's a mechanical equipment, but we have put fail safe for all the 11 stages. At any point of time, we cannot be at risk.
Okay, fine. Thanks. That answers
There
my
is
question.
backup.
Comfortable.
Okay.
All right. I think we
All
far
right.
exceeded, taken too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. At least we can clarify all our questions. So this quotation we have, I think is from March, I think, March 20th. Maybe you can send us an updated one with maybe just reduce the price a bit. It will help us propose this to MC better. What we can do maybe is talk 3 years or 5 years. I think we are more flexible on that. We are trying to see the upfront cost to be a bit
on
lower.
the maintenance is it?
Yeah. So yeah,
I
mean,
will
I spoke to
discuss with
Gautam
you.
also. He said, okay, we will send a quote, and later we can see how we can adjust that. But it could help us because we are going to present this to MC, and so it could help us if you can already make your best offer, because then we don't have to do a lot of to and fro.
Who is your immediate next competitor?
So for this recycling, currently for our size, there is no immediate competitor. We don't consider anyone as competitors for now. But there are large companies, Thermax, Ion Exchange, Veolia, Wabag. All these people will slowly enter. In fact, one of the companies had secret inspection to our site to see our equipment. But yeah, they will eventually come. But currently not. To the level which we are doing, I think no one is doing. People have RO systems, industrial RO manufacturers are there.
Okay. All right. Are you looking for any business partners? I would like to join.
Fully technical, sir. You won't sustain.
All right. Okay. So Anand, so probably what we need to do is, whether, how far we go, that's a different story. But I think we need to box this whole thing and then quickly take it before, we need to hit it when it's hot.
Yep.
So probably we need to put a time box for it and then move it forward.
Yes. I will share the recording with everyone, and we can already discuss in the next MC meeting.